Pretty nice is right. Yuri Elkem is in with us this morning. He's been on before talking about health and fitness. Now he's written a new book. It's called Eating for Energy. He's got lots to back him up. He's a registered holistic nutritionist, certified kinesiologist, former professional soccer player, and he's the head strength and conditioning and nutrition coach for the University of Toronto men's soccer program. So he practices what he preaches,
Pretty much, yeah.
Thank you for coming
Thanks
in
for
this
having
morning.
me again.
Convince me.
Okay, well,
I do say, like, obviously I agree with the title,
Yeah.
Eating for Energy. That makes a lot of sense to a person like me. Apparently it works for you because you look great. I don't, on the other hand, but still I'm skeptical.
okay. Well, the whole premise of the book really is about eating, coming back to basics, really eating the way nature really intended for us to eat. And in so doing, your energy levels will just get back to where they're supposed to be. Because a lot of us walk around, we're tired, we're lethargic, we know that we're not where we can be. And there's just this flame inside that needs to be ignited. And so what I try to do through this book is really show you how you can do that and explain why it's important to do that.
Now, having said that, sorry, Tara.
No.
So, and obviously come back to me and say, Kelly, you're an idiot and you don't have your facts. But to go back to how we're meant to eat, nature and everything, with all due respect, so people in Africa that maybe are forced to do that, their life expectancy is 45 years old. We eat here like we do, and we live to over 80. Why the difference?
Well, I think there's a dichotomy here. We have the Western culture, which is, yes, we're living longer, but is our quality of life necessarily better? Probably not. The big three diseases here, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, and obesity, really, you don't see that in third world countries. They have their issues, and a lot of it has to do with...
But cancer is an age disease, and so they don't live long enough to get cancer.
Well, I know a lot of people, and I talk about it in the book, who are in their 30s who had prostate cancer.
Yeah,
right?
some.
Unfortunately, what's happening in Africa and a lot of third world countries is they don't have a lot of infrastructure in place for cleanliness and preventive medicine like we do here. So there is that balance issue on that standpoint. But I think if we even look at some of the foods that they're eating, they're much better off from preventing a lot of the diseases that we're experiencing in North America.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your focuses in the book here. You talk about the importance of alkalinity and pH balance to food enzymes and how you process that in your body.
Yeah.
So what kinds of foods would you eat then to balance your
pH.
Well,
first off, it's important to know pH is really the lifeblood. It's the playground for which everything in the body occurs, right? Our blood wants to be slightly alkaline. And what's happening is most people are slightly acidic or very acidic, and there's a difference when the two occur. Very simply, and I talk about it more in the book, when the blood is acidic, it becomes sludge. It moves very slowly, and if our blood doesn't move quickly and it's not as it should be, we're not going to get the oxygen to our cells. Very simple. If it's alkaline, where it's supposed to be, things happen as they're supposed to, and everything is great. We have the oxygen, we have the nutrients coming to our cells, and everything works as it's supposed to. So the key is about, okay, what kind of foods can we eat to really promote that alkalinity? And a very simple rule of thumb is anything that is green has tremendous amounts of alkalinity. So I brought a couple examples here. Celery, kale, parsley, these are all things I talk about in the book. But in general, if you're going in the supermarket, I mean, stay in the produce section. Stay on the outsides. Look for things that are green because green equals alkalinity. Alkalinity equals oxygen. Oxygen equals energy.
So we're taught here, anyways, to add things to these to make them more flavorful.
For sure.
Do you?
I talk a lot about in the book about the importance of coming back to a more of a raw diet. And I'm not promoting becoming a raw foodist because it's not achievable for a lot of people. But if you consider this for a second, we're the only species on the planet that cooks their food. It's something we don't really think about. But it's also interesting to know that animals in their natural environment don't suffer from obesity or the diseases that we do either. And so it's interesting to look at what is it that they're doing differently from what we are. And cooking, unfortunately, destroys a lot of the nutrient quality of foods have. And we talk about vitamins and minerals that are lost with cooking. But another very important concept is the aspect of food enzymes, which not a lot of people know about. And food enzymes are really, when you run out of enzymes, you run out of life. And food enzymes really give us that longevity. They are the spark plugs for any and all metabolic reactions in our body. And when you eat foods in their living state, they're actually living, they haven't been cooked, you keep that enzyme quality intact. And when you have the enzymes, everything works that much better. It reduces the burden on your digestive system and everything just kind of flourishes.
Well, I want to ask you about that because I get stomach aches when I eat raw vegetables. So why is that? And I know a lot of people do. as well. So
again, it could be a transition issue. It could be a lot of times because there are a number of things. If you're used to eating more of a cooked diet, it does take some time to kind of transition into incorporating more raw foods. But I think a very simple approach is if you can incorporate things like smoothies, juices, that's a great start. If you can't handle some of the vegetables that might be a little bit more fibrous, then I highly recommend juicing. Juicing is one of the best ways to get tremendous amounts of nutrients and alkalinity into your body without having to worry about is this going to give me a stomach ache or smoothies are another great way.
Does it have to be green?
It doesn't have to be, but
for smoothie, because I'm thinking
Like a homemade smoothie? Like you take this stuff and...
Well, a typical example, sometimes for like a post-workout smoothie for me will be banana, some berries, and I'll throw in some kale just to give me some alkalinity in there. And I'll throw in some flaxseed, and then I just blend it all up with some water, and it's beautiful.
You drink that?
Yeah, it's amazing.
just with water?
Yeah, I mean, you can throw in some, I wouldn't recommend dairy. You can throw in some
How
rice
about
milk.
coffee? You're not a big fan of caffeine, are you?
Unfortunately, coffee, not
How
too
does
much.
a guy like me get started in the morning?
Well, here's the thing, is that initially, I've worked with so many people who I've transitioned them off coffee, just reducing the consumption and starting to move into green juices and other green sources, and their energy, like I'm talking about within a week, is like gone through the roof.
Green tea works
you
for
drink
me.
that all the
I
time.
drink green tea
Antioxidants?
all day.
Yeah.
So why don't you try that?
Because I like coffee.
But you know what, it's all about moderation, right?
Yeah.
So, if you enjoy your coffee, that's great, but if you can start to really question some of the things that you put in your body and look at, is this nourishing me?
Well, that I know I need to do.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk
Yeah.
about what everyone in the health industry seems to say is the most important meal of the day, breakfast.
I know.
And you don't eat it.
I don't.
How important is that?
Again, depending on the source you hear this from, you're going to hear different things. And my approach is that you listen to your body. So if you wake up in the morning and you're not hungry at all, why force it, right? The body is in detoxification mode up until about noon. So if we're constantly putting a lot of food into it during that time, we're taking the energy away from detox and elimination into digestion.
So some days you may have breakfast, other days you may not?
Yeah, like this morning I had half a cup of a little smoothie. That was about it. Some days, if I've done a workout in the morning, I might need something a little bit more substantial.
Well, what about people who say, it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm going to bed, but I'm kind of hungry?
I would say go to bed. Have some water
Don't eat.
and
See,
go to
I
bed.
agree with that,
Because when you eat late at night and you go to bed, you are going to feel like you've been hit by a truck first thing in the morning.
Okay. So you
So
don't
chips
have
at
to
night,
eat.
huh?
Chips and dip? No.
That's why you look like you do, and that's why I look like I do.
You do have a very glowy, bright-eyed look.
thank
You sure do, Yuri. Okay, there's a website you can go to, eatingforenergy.ca, eatingforenergy.ca. Of course, you can also pick up the book. There's a whole eating plan, what you can do every single day, different foods and recipes as well.
120 recipes.
120 recipes, and they're actually edible ones.
They're
I
amazing. They
looked at-
take
they're
less
very
than
good.
10 minutes to make. They're great.
Good stuff. Thank you very much.
Thanks a
Yuri.
lot for
Thanks,
having
Yuri.
me. Thank you.
So, did he change your mind, Kelly?
We're working on it.
We're working on
I know I need to be healthier. There's no question about that.
A kale shake for Kelly coming right up.